just the name of our show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Large Glass. My name is Todd.
I'm Terri.
And this is our show where we bring you a weekly artist to talk about how are you?
Yeah, how are you?
So middle of summer, and it has cooled off a little bit, but I am exhausted for some reason. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I always need a nap.
Yeah, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I noticed that some of the leaves are changing already.
Well, that's just on one tree that I think is dying in our yard.
No, when you go for a little walk down the street, I see some yellow and some red, but it's okay.
No, you don't. Sorry.
Last dog days of summer. We've got some people in the chat.
Yeah, we do. Who's here?
Well, we have Marsalis. She says hello, hello.
Hi, Marsalis.
John Park is out there.
Jess Park.
Pumpkin Audrey.
Glenn's here. Hi, Glenn.
Hey,
Glenn,
Glenn.
I'm not neglecting you, by the way. I know that I've been silent, and you're working on some amazing new work. Glenn Lavertu's working on some new work, people.
New work.
Yes. Who else is here?
We've got Boo Jazz. We have a Facebook user who says hello.
That's got to be Shirley. Shirley always comes in as Facebook user, I think.
Okie dokie.
Ben Hagenbush.
Where were you last week? You missed the 100th episode?
We were right in the middle of saying, and the only person in the chat who's got flawless attendance for all 100 episodes is Ben Hagenbush. And you weren't here.
We're just teasing.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Yes.
We're glad to have you back.
Yes, we are.
Let's see what's going on in the world. We should make cocktails?
We should make cocktails.
All right. I will get started on that.
Okay.
What do you have to tell us?
Well, we have a couple of events coming up. Summer's been a pretty busy month, and some of our previous artists have reached out to us to tell us what's going on. So we have Susan Mastrangelo. She was featured in an article, The Woven Tale Press by Jennifer Nelson. She had written an article called Painting with Fabric and Knits, and she wanted you to check it out. We will be posting a link to that on one of our pages.
Yes.
Probably Facebook and maybe a mention on Instagram.
Yes, and Jim Osmond was awarded a residency called Material. That's going to be on the Governor's Island. It's a summer residency, and there's going to be an open house this Saturday, August 6th from 12 to 6. You can actually go and visit him there on Governor's Island. So if you're in the city, this is going to be a good one. And meeting Jim is, if you don't know Jim Osmond or you know him and haven't seen him in a while, definitely stop in. He's got some amazing work going on. 12 to 6. Check out his Instagram for more information on that. So get to that.
Yeah. And September calendars are also rolling out. One of our partners, Whittemore, has been posting on all of their events happening up in September. So there's a couple of shows coming up September 24th. I can't believe we're talking about September already. But Kathleen Thompson has a show coming up called Quietude. Also, the Sculpture Garden has several sculptures on exhibit right now from local Hunterdon County artists, including Jeff Mays and David Horowitz, and you can see them right now. Check Whittemore's page out, whittemoreccc.org. They have community calendar. They have lots of classes and nature hikes and geocaching and all kinds of events. So we're very happy to be partnering up with them.
Marsola says, so episode 100 has come and gone. How's the bee pin going? The bee pin is in production. We are waiting for it. So we should be hearing about the bee pin soon. I do know that the company that we have that makes the pins, we've made 2 pins through them so far. One came lightning fast and one took a long time.
It did.
And the reason it took longer was because there was an issue in the design that needed to have approval from me, and I didn't see the email. So it took some time to get that done. So I've been trying to watch. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
But episode 100 has come and gone.
Yes.
We are into our next 100 episodes.
Yeah.
Episode 101.
And Ben's telling us that he had no power.
He had no power.
That's okay. We were just teasing.
Oh, Jess Park says, I can't remember. Do we know what the B pin is? The B pin is Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Episode 101.
101.
I have a Tito's and tonic. And I would also like to, not to start tonight out on a downer mood, but I want to also make a toast to Mike Cedro. Mike Cedro was the owner of the liquor store we go to. He's a wine connoisseur, a local liquor store owner who used to travel to Spain and all over Europe and get to know actual vintners and wine producers. And he would befriend them, bring them back to the United States for dinner, and host dinner parties at his house around their wines and tell stories about, the wine production. He was a real amazing craftsperson. He
really
passed away
was.
this morning, and we're really kind of saddened by that. But so this is also to Mike.
Cheers.
He will be sorely missed. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so Bloody Mary on the pin for Jess. What else do we have? We've got all the artists. Can I just talk about one thing real quick? I mean, I know we've got a little bit of time before we bring Maureen on. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to pick your brains out there about this one. How many people are just totally put off by Instagram lately? Because I found, one day I woke up and I popped on Instagram because I wanted to go looking for artists to start asking for October, November, because we're out that far. And all of a sudden I noticed that, number one, my feed is black, as in not empty, but it now has like dark mode.
Well, it's got a TikTokery.
It's all like TikTok.
Thing.
It's all reels. There were no stills whatsoever. And I'm like, and plus all the people I'm looking at were people I don't even follow.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? It was like the For You page on TikTok.
Well, I think of us as curators, so it's a little challenging to find some artists that way. And sometimes that's how we look for artists.
Oh, Buchez is giving us crap.
Instagram is so
2021. But he is sipping some Prairie Sunshine Wildflower Honey Spirit from the Quincy Street Distillery. God, man. You know what? I think we should have Buchez on staff to provide the drinks.
Yes.
John Park loathe Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm with you because this was the last straw for me. As a matter of fact, Facebook, I've been off. Like, I just can't stand it anymore. It's a toxic cesspool. TikTok is brilliant, but a time suck. And lately, my algorithm has just turned into something I can't stand.
Well, I think because everybody's on it right now. Do you know what I mean? Like when things first start off and they're all nice and new.
Yeah.
They're novel and fun, but then it gets oversaturated with stuff, and then everybody's doing something, and I don't. That's probably too negative.
But if you remember,
I like TikTok though.
If you remember, we had Matthew Collings on a few episodes back, and Matthew not moved, but also joined Vero.
Yes.
Now Vero could be just like Ello. Ello, if you remember correctly, was supposed to be the next social media platform, but then it kind of went belly up. Vero could very much wind up there, but I noticed that, Sharon Butler from Two Coats of Paint is over there. Matthew Collings is there. Jeff McConnell, who was on our show, just moved over there. So some people are starting to go there. So I started an account there. Terri started one there. And we want all you to come along because, number one, there are no ads. Number two, they are probably selling a portion of your data, but they're not out there to only suck your data and, sell it to people. It seems like it's a little bit more wholesome. For now. Until Zuckerberg buys it. I don't know. But there's a lot of comments about this. So let's see. We've got... Oh, Buchez is coming right over. Good. Yep. Oh, 63 is here.
Hello.
What's going on, Bill? TikTok has infiltrated, and the suggested follows are ridiculous. My feed is mostly not people I know now. Yeah, same here. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Instagram, this is Marsolis. Instagram algorithm has been going down the drain for a while. TikTok has just made everything worse. Agreed. Now everyone wants to be like TikTok.
Buchez says he likes LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know. You like LinkedIn.
I kind of like LinkedIn.
So you got a fan.
To a degree, though. To a degree. Unless he's like making a joke of it. Because it's a little quiet over there in LinkedIn land. But
63 says, so Elon says I can have a piece of Twitter. Yeah, the Twitter that he never bought when he said he was going to buy it. He probably would give all of us a piece of it now. Yeah, so I don't know. Vero, who knows? I mean, Vero's, you go on there and you're like, wow, look, I have 3 followers. And I don't live for followers, but, you want to engage with people.
I have 1.
So Ben says, let's go back to MySpace. The thing about MySpace that was cool.
No one's there right now, so maybe that's a good idea.
The thing about MySpace that was cool was MySpace allowed you to genuinely build the look of your page, which is what most social media platforms stopped doing because they wanted to sort of homogenize the look and allow you to put the content in. But they didn't want you messing with the look. You could do that on MySpace. Now, I don't know if that's ever going to come back, but, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows? Maybe it's Vero, Vero. But maybe you go there. Maybe you don't. I don't know. It's a thought.
There are people.
Glenn says I stay away. Now we got the argument going. What? Glenn's like no to LinkedIn, or GeoCities. Yeah, that was or Friendster from John Park. Yes, I know. Friendster was. Yeah, Friendster was before Facebook.
Oh, was it?
Oh yeah.
I never even saw that one.
Because when Facebook first started, you could not open an account unless you had a .edu email. You had to be in college.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, you had to be in college to be on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to be pursuing an education. Now look at Facebook.
Yes.
Now they prefer if you have no education. As a matter of fact, they prefer if you completely reject education. Then you can be on Facebook.
Yeah.
What a change. All right, let's talk about our artists.
Well, I just want to mention, because I did say I would mention birthdays if they landed on today. So August 2nd, there's just 2 artist birthdays that are in our inventory of artist birthdays. So John Sloan was born on this day, as well as Arthur Dove. So I just wanted to mention that.
Nice. Two good ones. Two good ones.
So
poor Tumblr never had a chance. I like Tumblr.
You did like Tumblr.
I did. Tumblr was good before Tumblr became all about porn. Tumblr went down this bad. They went down this.
Tinder.
No, it's Tumblr.
Tinder's a dating site. I'm so out of the loop. Okay.
How do you know about Tinder?
Because I have friends on it. Okay.
Marcellus is like, anyway, art.
Okay. Well, I am very excited about tonight's artist. So she's been all I've been thinking about all weekend long, which is pretty common because when we start looking into these artists, and she is someone I discovered through Instagram, she's been in my head. So tonight's guest artist joins us live from her New York apartment this evening. Maureen Dougherty is a painter and documentary filmmaker, and she's been a filmmaker for over 25 years. She just let us know prior to this broadcast that she is part of a nomination for an Emmy with a production of Desert One with Cabin Creek Films with Barbara Koppel. She studied fine arts at Carnegie Mellon and has also attended the New York Studio School. Her most recent show, What Are You Looking At?, exhibited this past spring at the Mark Borge Gallery in Sag Harbor. There's several Mark Borge galleries, and that just closed in June. For all of you joining us tonight, please give a warm welcome to Maureen.
Oh, good God, you got ahead of me on there. Sorry.
Dougherty.
I said that I was going to up the curtain. Hi, Maureen. How are you? She's getting her mute because I got ahead of. There you are.
Hello.
Voila.
How are you?
Hello. But I have some bad news for that site. It's owned by some monster that everybody's turned off their promotion of the new replacement for Instagram.
Oh.
I'm terribly sorry to announce.
Oh, really?
Wait, what's that?
Yeah.
Vero?
Yeah, he's bad news. The owner is probably worse than Zuckerberg.
Oh, really?
You know, I don't even know who the owner is. I'm a little bit ignorant.
Is he Saudi or is he
something like that? It's bad news. Everybody's been on and now they're jumping off.
Well, this is good. This is good. So at least we didn't get strung along for like a year and a half and then have it disappear. I'd rather be on it for 2 days.
Yeah.
So
it's just like you say, they rope you in with all these enticing details and then they totally drop the ball on you.
They do.
Couldn't agree more about the garbage that's on Instagram.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you telling us about that. But anyway, thank you for coming on tonight.
Yes,
We're super excited to have you on the show tonight.
Cheers.
Right. Do you have your cocktail tonight? Cheers. I'm glad to have a
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pleased to meet you.
So Terri usually starts us off with a quick question that kind of gets us rolling. So I'm going to turn it over to her.
Yep, and I just want to remind everybody in the chat, if you have any questions, please post them along. We will relay them to Maureen as they come. So Maureen, a general question to get started. Can you tell us a little bit about the art that you make?
I know, I love that question.
Yeah.
Especially
Well, like
currently.
I said, I straddle two worlds, documentary film and painting. Painting since knee high to grasshopper, documentary probably 28 years, 20 with Barbara. So I'm aware of current events. I don't shy away from them. I actually find them necessary to confront. So right now I'm trying to get rid of the narrative a little, just absolutely the last, 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know if you have any of the new work on your site, but I find the narrative is getting a little heavy duty. And I'm originally, for the last 10, 15 years, I've been doing abstraction.
Mhm.
So the pandemic brought me into figuration in a very gentle, well, if you could call it gentle, it was an absolute necessity, but it was also a daunting surprise, the pandemic.
Mhm.
But right now I'm doing just trying to raise the bar and continue figuration, but sort of trying to amp it up to abstraction, where it's sort of generated from.
Gotcha. You have an interesting story about where you landed in the pandemic and how it changed the way you make painting. Can you tell us that story?
Well, before my abstractions were informed by, I traveled a lot. So before the pandemic, I was in Morocco, and you can't escape it without coming away with tile sensation. It's like you live and breathe tiles. Came back to my studio. I was just tile, in all concepts of diamond shapes, color, form, flower, like I saw. But I knew that some people that were skiing in the Alps came back on ICUs and in Italy, from Italy to California, and I knew it was a very serious situation. And I had a former partner that I had broken up with, that I was sort of tiptoeing back in a relationship, and I just really went to visit him to calm him down. I wore a scarf on the bus. I didn't have a mask. There was only 8 people, and I got off, and the next thing I know, I was living there for 2 years. The city was shut down, and it became a very serious event. So in that isolation, I started going into figuration, and I left all the triangles and diamonds back in the city.
Huh. It's kind of interesting to see how the pandemic pushes you into figuration at a time when we're sort of completely alone.
Yes.
And how it kind of like, and I don't know if that's a direct, 1 + 1 = 2, where we're kind of all isolated. So let's make paintings of people, but there is a lot of intimacy in the work, and I feel like that could relate. I don't know.
Well, you got me nailed. I'm a numbers person. 1 + 1 is not 2. It's 11 for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a numbers person. So the reason I went to figuration is because I have a vivid imagination, and my space was very small. I was given a little tiny, 40 by 40-foot square room, and I couldn't do abstraction in there. I had no materials. I had a pad of ink. A pad of paper and ink. That's all I had. And I found a couple of sable brushes I had left behind, a year or 2 prior. So I was very happy to find them. And I was doing a lot of fundraising, the PPP from the banks and loans for the film company. I was on hold from like 5 to like 4 p.m. And I started doing these ink drawings of very imitative circular thought pattern, and they involved figures and stuff I saw out the window. And that happened to be a dead end that had some cars that were parked that nobody ever drove. And it was from the cars that I threw the ink out the window and decided to start painting what I saw out the window.
Gotcha.
No more in my head. Now I wanted to paint what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So I started painting the cars on canvases that I found in Goodwill stores.
Huh.
And then I found an art supply store, which wasn't supposed to be open. And it was this amazing store in an old bank from the 50s, Mr. Miller. And I saw they had a light on way in the back. It was a very modern space, kind of like an A-frame ski lodge. And then I called the number of the store, and he came to the door and he said, whenever you need anything, just call me. I'll open the store for you. So I went to all the Goodwill stores before they shut, and I got paintings, canvas to paint on.
And did you ever leave? I don't think you did, but did you ever leave part of the original painting behind?
Oh yeah, because a lot of the paintings are very like from some kind of sketchy schooling, and they're all seasons like winter, spring, summer, and fall. So they have great backgrounds. You know, they're very autumnal with the leaves and flora, and summer's sky and tulip. I mean, spring is tulip. You know, they're very general and they're very effective. Winter's a mountain. I think I showed you examples of it. I really got off it. I mean, that was a really great diving springboard for just fantasizing of what figuration is I mean, it's been done before. I didn't invent it. The Dutch, these people were doing it, you know, the school of art with the Ascherjarn and I can't remember what they're
I'm
called.
trying to put this word in your mouth, and I'm also slipping on it. I think we're all kind of in a spot where I'm like, can't remember what you're trying to think of.
They're the something sensationalists. They use thrift store. You know, they riffed on found.
Right.
Ashthorn used it a lot.
Right.
So, but in essence, it's all I had because nobody was delivering art supply. You know, big canvases. Yeah. So it came in really handy. But I loved it. And then I was committed to it. Yeah. And then I really committed to it. And I'm still committed to it. So there's something there.
Yeah. So just to, we're going to travel back a little bit because I want to, I'm thinking, as you're talking right now, I'm thinking of how you first started painting, like with the abstract work, and we can see certain patterns evolve. So when I was digging around, I was like looking at some of these gorgeous, rich abstract paintings just to kind of get an idea. And we see hints of your palette coming through and the way that you're handling some of these paints. And they're really gorgeous. And we see like some more of this, the line and the design coming through, which carries over into what you're doing right now. And we see a little bit more. This kind of reminded me a little bit of the Pam Glick stuff going on because she does quite a bit of that with her Niagara Falls paintings.
When you're talking about Moroccan tile work, that's
the work from Morocco.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. But then we start seeing these were some of the images that you shared. And are these
the ink drawings I did in the morning?
Right.
Okay. And then this started the progression into your more figurative works.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they were all the same where they used this sort of arc and a figure would be in the center. And then there would be these sort of nature, there would be a sun and all these little details, vegetation and stuff like that. But there was always an arc and a figure in the middle.
Yeah, there's something iconic. Like they do remind me of icons. You looked at me like, was that what you were going to say?
Well, yeah, a little bit. Like a little religious reference or a grotto or something, like that.
But there's also something interesting in that arch, that isolation and the way it isolates that figure. And I'm not about to harp on the pandemic, but I am going to start to sort of think about how this might relate to your documentary filmmaking. and how there's kind of a focus in a documentary on a particular subject. And it kind of tries to tell a story as uninhibited or dramatized as possible. I mean, that's sort of documentary's goal a lot of the time. And so this focal this thing you start to sort of hone in on during the pandemic with these figures in this way. I mean, it's a very big departure when we see you going from this, which kind of has that sort of feel to it architecturally. It kind of has that kind of like that arch, that plinth, that sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It'll come to me, to this. And I feel like there's a connection there. But is there a relation to the filmmaking or what you think about
we were working, we got a gig during the pandemic, a very large one, about 4 fashion models. And I was also offered a show by Rob Ober, very kindly, and Kent. And I decided to focus on women because I was sort of inundated with this, looking into the history of, there were 4 very powerful fashion models that wouldn't get out of bed for $10,000 or something like it. It was unusual material for our company, and the director. But I got into it. I'm not adverse to fashion,
Right.
We all were raised on. But so I focused on that particular show about the power of the model, not a fashion one, but model, like the figure as a model.
Right.
And the weirdest thing was I had no idea what was going on. I had the show, Rob and all the people at the open, and we were hanging around, sitting around at the couch, talking about what the hell we were looking at. That I painted, that I just saw all these women sort of glomming on each other, sitting, and paintings were about them. And then some young guy comes in with a very hot looking girl and goes, oh, these are paintings of, I can't even remember the name of it. This website called Only something. It's about young people that sell images of their body, and then they end up OnlyFans.
Yeah, OnlyFans.
I didn't even know what it was, or I thought it was like the end of the world. Like I was raised in feminism, free choice, and I was really kind of painting something I was pretty shocked about. And then they come in and they go, oh, it's OnlyFans, and these people that didn't have jobs or lots of jobs in catering, whatever, and then had these hot bodies and had a lot of time to build up their bodies, started selling and making a lot of money. And I was really happy to know what the hell was happening. But I don't think it's as popular as it was, but it was just sort of hysterical that this young person walked into the show and explained the whole situation to us. But here I was trying to understand it through painting.
Well, I like that.
The painting I was using was Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, so it's not far off.
Right.
And nothing's really changed. It's just the names have changed and the vehicles changed, the mediums changed. But I was doing these Demoiselles d'Avignon type women, and it turns out it was OnlyFans.
Well, according to that guy, it was OnlyFans. I mean,
yeah, but it really is. I like these ones right here. I mean, there they are. I mean, they might not be OnlyFans, but that's the thing I was trying to understand. I don't remember women glomming onto each other, like hanging all over each other in my generation. And then someone else explained it. It's because the camera has a very small reference and lens, and they're all trying to get in the frame of the shutter. So, okay.
It's almost as if when the image is done being taken or painted, in this case, they all break and walk away from each other. It's almost like it's...
I mean, who hangs on each other like that?
Well, today's society, we kind of do because it's selfie obsessed. So we're always grabbing our cameras, and as many people can come into that frame as possible.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I remember like I was talking about my nieces, and so was everybody else. All these kids do it in college, and on the swim team and stuff. It's like, oh, it's cute, but it's kind of, it's kind of fascinating that they're very free. Freedom that I don't remember having. Oh yeah, and that's the version. That's how that painting ended up.
Yeah, and I think I was telling you one of the things I really appreciate about your Instagram and what you're showing us. You show us the progression and the thought process behind it. And I really like how you drop the inhibitions in both the subject material, your style, and just how you're going about it. We're kind of scrolling through some of these images, and some of them are just really fantastic in their references to other artists as well.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So we see a couple
This
of them.
one's kind of fascinating because I never painted leaves before, and they're really sexy. I was like, I'm not doing the women. I started doing the leaves, and actually there were these frogs and stuff that I had behind there, and I really thought I really got into painting those kind of houseplant leaves. It's a very sexy form.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it definitely is. I'm curious about notions of, I'm fascinated with this idea that you work in film, and I'm not sure what role you play in working a documentary film and what areas you sort of focus on there. But I know that, when you're reviewing things or when you're looking at the final product, and we're looking at elements of, say, photographic composition in a film, and then we're thinking about being a painter. How do you negotiate this element of time that is present in the film and present in the painting, but in a very different way? Is that something that creeps into your thinking at all when you're doing these, either from the standpoint of composition or the standpoint of narrative? But does that affect you?
Very fascinating. Well, let me just inform you that I'm a line producer, so I have made my own films. I have a couple I need to finish, and it's documentary. So my whole thing is numbers. I'm the one that has to get the thing in the can without running out of money. The difference between filmmaking and painting is you don't make a film without the budget. Painting, you paint without money. You can't finish a film without the post. So my whole thing is about cutting, shaving to make sure I can, expand on something else to bring it home. So it's very objective in a subjective way, but painting is completely subjective. There is no objectivity. There's no deadline. There's no 15 executive producers. There's no, people you got to lick their boots. You're on your own, so, but it does, I do bring that mentality to my work too. It's who I am. It's why I can do what I do. But like I said, I love numbers, and I love sequences and how to make numbers work. Numbers can work against you. Numbers can work for you. So,
gotcha.
But I do think about that. But I'm not. I am not Barbara does bring me into the edit, and I do speak my mind. I'm probably one that does it. But it's always because I'm trying to make shave.
Gotcha.
So you can get a better sound editor, it's all about honing it into completion.
Right.
Seeing it.
Right. There's a couple of comments that are pretty interesting popping in. Ben Hagenbush says that he loves all of the great versatility in your work, but Bill Mackhold says Judy Chicago meets Rousseau. Then Casimir comments on that comment and says, was just thinking about Rousseau and George Condo due to the mask on the white chick. Dare say it looks Condonian. Condonian, good word. I like that. That's going to be a new adjective for us, I think. And then let's see. Oh, Memory Vessel is here. She says, yes, love the leaves too. So, you're getting some good feedback on this one. Can we move on? Because there's a couple of other ones in here I wanted to point towards. Which one were you?
Well, I was coming up towards this one, but these are more similarities that you can immediately detect with some of the other artists. Like here we see some reference to Matisse, and then there's a lot of reference to Picasso.
But I like, for example,
This one.
Yeah, this is one I wanted to talk about because I start seeing this sort of the tile work creeping back in, the pattern work from the ink drawings is creeping back in.
Mm-hmm.
Where does this one fall in the trajectory? Is this a later one? I don't remember the date on this one.
It is exactly that. I came back and I did a little bit of. It was a really beautiful kind of composition of women, very flash, very fresh. Everything I do is in oil. So this happened to be on a really nice smooth canvas. Very fresh. But then I just started doing a detail with black paint, and then I just went wild. I couldn't stop.
I love it.
I totally brought it back to the ink. You're absolutely right. I didn't even think of that. You know what? I never thought of that.
Huh. Well,
that's exactly what I did, because this one was in my studio.
I think we got Charles Chagnon over on Facebook. Charlene
Chagnon.
Oh, Charlene. My glasses are sorry about that, Charlene, my bad. But it says Blue Wave Rocks. Was that a reference to the last painting?
I believe it was.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that is what it's called.
This one.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Blue Wave Rocks.
That was an accident because that was such an instantaneous sketch out of my head, and then the head was off the canvas, so I just tipped it. I literally, and then I really, like you, I put it would be Matisse if I put it all surrounded by blue, but I understand the Matisse, but yes. One of the things that my work is always chasing is form. It's an unending, tantalizing vehicle for me. But it's just funny that I had that one particular problem.
Well, it's a common problem. I mean, I'm going to add this actually. I'm going to add this to my lecture the next time I teach figure drawing. I'm going to say, look at the solution here for the common head being cut off. Dip it into the piece. It becomes part of the gesture, and that's actually really quite nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That angle of the neck is really.
It looks intentional. It doesn't look like a problem-solving technique.
Well, that's exactly why I went to the studio school from Carnegie Mellon. That's the one thing they taught back then is the understanding of the construct of the plane, how to get the form in the plane, and that's a very Matissean concept,
right?
Because it is for me, and we had Philip Pearlstein at the time that was running figures off, into the stratosphere. But that was why I went, is to lock a form into space. I didn't say that at the time, but that is exactly. And I did learn how to do it, because that whole thing is just one volume after another.
Gotcha.
But you have to be taught how to do that. You can't just figure it out.
Yeah. Real quick, back on this one, Pumpkin Audrey on our chat says, why are the faces hidden?
With the masks, because I don't want to identify, I don't want to give them names. The subjectivity is already there. It's so, you get involved, and you give them a certain lip, and you give them a certain eye. And I don't know if you saw the Medici show at the Metropolitan, but unbelievable portraiture of these great artists, Pontormo, and the shifty eyes is a classic of how to avoid but confront portraiture. And you don't really, when you paint someone's portrait, you don't want to, you're really painting yourself, but you want to sort of hide a certain part of the identity at the same time. But I started putting masks to really pry the identity, so to speak.
I love that. There's a couple of other things coming in, but John Park says on this, and especially the first one, and we're talking back at the Blue Wave one, there is a sensualness to the legs, especially even though they are somewhat abstract. And I've noticed a focus in a lot of these on the leg in the composition and the repetition of the leg. Terry's going to pull up a couple more.
I'm just going to go back to that one.
Yeah, there's that one. And then there's a couple of others where...
I mean, we see that, well, this one's a little bit more abstracted.
Can I get?
Yeah, go for it.
Because there's one I remember being particularly interesting at the top here. Give me 1 second and I'll pull it up. But like in this one, you know, this is really as much about the legs and the positioning of the legs as it is about the figures and the interaction between those figures. And the legs almost appear to be, in their interwovenness, much more intimate than the figures, which are intimate to begin with. But there's like two separate relationships going on here.
Cool, yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a Gordian knot. Totally.
Yeah.
It was, I have so many, I know how I built it up and how it came from a wash to, and I'm still working on it because I wanted it to be, the blue figure to be ether, and she's sort of a mythological character. You know, this is the thing about when you get involved, it's like, and you do the shifty eyes and you do one's orange, and you know, it's just, it's fun. It's unending joy to bring these characters to life. But this one in particular, I do love the legs, and I do love the limbs, and because they're really like the frame. Once I can place the hips in a picture, you know, in a plane, I can follow, everything else follows into place. It's the key, is finding where the hips go and the juncture of the rib, and you get it right and you place it, and the rest just takes off.
Well,
but they're all intertwined, and I don't know which leg is around which. Then I just lost control. I didn't care.
Well, and also in terms of a lot of the historical references you're making to other painting, the contrapposto stance, and you know the way the hips sort of shift to one side, and it suggests a weight, obviously, to the figure, but it also it sort of denotes a movement of the eye up through the figure that's less rigid. It gives a kind of sensualness, to quote John Park in the chat, to the figure itself, right? There's a relaxation to it, but there's also a sturdiness to it, and there's almost a flow to it, almost like your love of the leaf, right? That leaf and the way it comes up.
I mean, the work has to be, I'm sensual. I mean, I'm a very sensualist. I love paint. I mean, I just love it. But I also want a sensualist. I mean, I'm not shy about that. I mean, I think legs are extraordinary.
I love this one. This is such a strange
I always
piece.
put them in stilettos for power.
I do love that. Or even a playfulness with the socks.
Oh, like, the socks, yeah.
Yeah.
And the turtle is coming onto her.
Yeah. But
I love that.
I did a whole series of sort of bestiality.
Well, the naughtiness and those taboo makes it something that has some weight to it. Like that's one of the big magnetizing elements of it to me. Because I'm just like, I can't take my eyes off this. This is so fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a clamshell, and like that's in the sea. And I had to put the tortoise in, a sea turtle, because I did once see a sea turtle when I was in Aruba sailing. I mean, I know what it feels like to, come across a, sea turtle. They're kind of sexy.
Yeah, they
definitely
are. There's so many references I want to jump to right now, and I'm like, hold your tongue.
Yeah.
But Susan Michael in the chat is saying, getting the form into the plane, talking earlier about Blue Wave and kind of moving things into that, the space of the plane. And that way, can you go back to that one for 1 second, please?
Yes, I can.
Because now that we're looking at this one with the tortoise, I feel like now there's a new confined space for her inside of this, sort of suggested clamshell, almost like, oh God. Sorry, I'm trying to reference another painting and it's not coming to me. But anyway, the point is this.
Not Venus.
Venus is a good example. That's not the one I was thinking of. But, she's kind of now in a confined space where her, sort of the tortoise that's coming onto her is the only thing breaking that plane. Like he's entering that plane in an interesting kind of way. So what Susan Michael said in the chat, I like how this sort of defies what was happening in Blue Wave, right? There's like this infiltrator, coming into the more meditative space, I guess. But you were going to move on to another.
Well, I'm just getting some more of these forms in here because we keep seeing.
But you know what this painting started as a narcissist. It was a mirror. The shell was a mirror because the sea, the water was in it, and there was a woman it was sort of about narcissism, seeing oneself image in a mirror in water.
We know a lot of those.
The turtle sort of breaks the frame of the self-love, like the selfie.
Oh, I see.
And so they're like the socks are like, oh, you didn't see that part of the selfie, that's not supposed to be seen, that just happened by accident.
Right. Huh. I love that. Plus, there's all these other things about with the tortoise about, they're kind of a fascinating yet grotesque. There's kind of like there's so many dualities to the tortoise that I think can be applied here to the sexiness, non-sexiness of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we see it.
Oh my God.
Again.
Okay, that's
great.
a Moroccan painting in the background. With the triangles. And that was one of the ones I came back and I slammed. Now you'll see this figure over and over with the cross legs. I do her all the time. I found her, I do her. And then I found an image of a little baby, and a t-shirt someone was wearing. So I thought, oh, I'll put a little baby t-shirt on her. And I gave her a tattoo because I was really into that. And she's got her cell phone. And then I put two snake eyes in the back.
There's so much in the suggestiveness of this that is sort of both very evident but then reined in. That tattoo on the inner thigh of a face looking at us, and it was in another piece as well.
Well, it's in a couple of there are these repeating motifs and design patterns, and especially with your use of animals and like the tiger is another one that repeats over and over again. But there's like we see it again here.
Oh yeah, that's the monkey, the old woman monkey with the young girl with her zebra cell phone case.
Oh my
and
God.
a super cute tattoo.
Fantastic.
Oh my God. Wait, I want to go back. Where's the other one? Can I go back to that one really quickly? Because there's another thing I think I want to start looking for I noticed this now. Next one, right there. In this one, I also really like the way that her eyes. You're okay with this notion that the eyes are slightly in two different directions. That, and what it suggests to me, what I love about it is it's kind of like this all overness. Like there's the focus is just, or at least her focus is like in 9 different places right now. Right. And it's there. It's evident in the cell phone, the presence of the cell phone. It's evident in the pattern work in the background in the snake. She's kind of got one eye on the snakes and one eye on the person who's looking at her, the viewer. Right.
Wow, that's cool that you see that.
Well, it just feels like to me, whatever generation she's from of the generation of the selfie, which I guess we're all part of.
Yeah. Well,
there's this kind of constant distractedness to that, which I love about this. All right, moving on. I want to find another one.
Cool, such an honor now. Oh my God, this is when I did a little bit. This was a porn video I watched. And it was foreign. And the thing that interested me about it was the bookshelf. So I was like, where is this porn shot? In a garage? Because they look like instructional manuals.
For like a car?
Yeah.
Like how to fix
how to fix your motor.
Something about a motor.
How to fix your motor.
I don't know. It was a very, I got really into that shelf. So I started taking photos of the porn because it was an interesting, hot story. Like she was selling him an apartment, and before you know it, they were screwing really fast. But the shelf stayed constant, and so I did a bunch of
Yeah.
I was watching and I was like, fuck this. I gotta take this image. This is insane.
Yeah.
It was also in a foreign language. So I don't know what country it was, but it was very low budge. And I
Bill-
just thought it was so cool.
That's-
I did a whole series about the bookshelf.
Huh.
Yeah, that's great.
Bill Mackholt says in the chat, so we're going to need some hex wrenches. Sorry, I had to stop on
I
that
don't
one.
know what kind of porn location it was, but it was very instructional,
Yeah.
Huh.
institutional.
Let's see. I want to keep going here. So this one is interesting to me also because this one really feels
like odalisque.
there's a lot of the abstraction still happening here. I feel like this is an earlier piece. Is that right?
I did that
It's mid.
during the pandemic, and I brought it to my studio, and I really simplified it.
Yeah, there's something
It's
about
like I had a lot more detail, and then I just put the paint around the flowers, and I got rid of all the existential stuff, and I really nailed it for what it was.
Gotcha.
It's a woman admiring her ass.
Which, I think that one of the things about this that's different from the ones we've seen, though, that sticks out to me, pardon the pun, is this notion that the abstraction kind of becomes more atmospheric. And so we now have this newfound focus on her. And even the flower-like vase object that's in the foreground, maybe suggesting beauty, maybe not even needing a literalization at all, is less important than she is, right? And so this becomes, she becomes one more line in the abstraction. It sort of follows the brushstrokes of the abstraction to some degree. But I almost feel like her form and the couch form, they have a much stronger relationship to the ground, I guess, than rather than sitting on top of it. They feel like they're almost in it, even though they're very, very different, which is, interesting to me, for what that's worth.
Yeah, we have some more comments. Bill's saying it's a Rothko if you take out the figure. And Ben's saying he's really glad he didn't miss this episode.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
This is
This
yeah.
is great too.
yeah. What's
That was a figure I did on I thought a lousy abstraction. There's an abstract painting behind that, and it was unstretched. I put it on the wall when I got back into my studio, and just the same. I've done that figure a bunch of times, and then I just started putting these animals. But yeah, the colors just. There's a skull and.
That's actually a good one thing that we sometimes mention with certain artists if it comes up, like failure. What do you do with that? Do you sometimes look at old, because you rework your pieces over and over again, and have you found yourself pulling out some of your older work during this time frame and being like, oh, the placement of figures can certainly help it?
Yeah, well, a lot of the work I did in Massachusetts, I had this little space, wonderful space, but it was natural light, so it went down at 4:30. I don't paint in incandescent light after I painted with natural light, so I call it a day. And I have a lot of these 19 by 16, whatever they are, and then I brought them to the studio, which I have no natural light, but I have good bulbs of a varying colors, and some of them should be left free, but some of them really needed attention, so I really worked on that. That one I did in Massachusetts.
This was still
That's called The Collector.
The Collector?
Oh.
Yeah, you have to guess which one's The Collector, but he collected a lot of African art.
Huh.
And the woman has all these great tattoos.
She does.
Yes,
And
she
she's
does.
wearing an African mask. Oops.
All right, wait a minute. There's another one I wanted to find here before we. Hold on. I know it's here. So is that it? Is it this one? This is not it, but this is another good one.
But you should know this one is a found canvas at Goodwill in Hudson, New York.
Right.
Very swanky Goodwill there. So I didn't paint those antlers or the antelope and stuff
Ooh.
and all. That's a a model wearing a beautiful McQueen dress that I put on there, on top of the canvas. I related to it, and I just put this model on there.
And then you later
Added a figure.
added
Yep.
another, yeah.
A figure and more animals.
Wow.
And it's actually went beyond that. There's more skulls and stuff. But that's how I riffed off of a found canvas.
It's interesting comparing that to what you do with your filmmaking too, because you say you're a numbers person. You're constantly, chopping and chopping, and you're still doing that with the artwork as you post it too, because you're posting like these little like integers, like you're still like chopping and chopping, but you're actually expanding upon it rather than kind of cutting it down like you do with the film.
But I would also argue that that's expanding upon it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right?
Yeah.
So, or I should say, that's also kind of chopping it down in terms of its unification, right?
Yeah.
It's becoming more like one.
And it's becoming more like itself.
Right. Whereas maybe before, the inclination to take that canvas out of goodwill was not only out of necessity, and here's a canvas, but a problem that has a solution to it.
I just remembered the name of those people, the Situationists.
Okay.
And there was one, the leader was Jacqueline de Jong.
We knew we'd get to it tonight. We knew the answer would come.
And Jacqueline de Jong is one of the finest painters, French, Dutch painters, still cooking with gas.
Right.
And Amsterdam. Yeah.
Couple comments. Love the end.
They didn't quite do what I did, but man, you're like blowing my mind referencing my work because, people don't understand. People sort of semi-complain that I paint too much. Like, how do you paint so many paintings? Well, I can kind of see why you think I paint a lot of paintings, but it's a reflex. I don't find it, I just don't see the, I feel very natural about it.
Yeah.
So when you go in, you can feel natural about painting over someone else's painting.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm destroying the painting. I feel like I'm adding to the painting.
Absolutely.
I have to be honest. I don't like to paint on people's work. I feel like I'm embellishing.
I love that. I love that.
It's
And I love that,
collaborative.
and I also love that you've got an image of this before with the Alexander McQueen dress and the model, and then you've got an image of it later on to kind of show the progression of that. How long did that unfold over, just out of curiosity?
Oh, and by the way, that's the same figure that's in that one that you saw over the abstract painting. That's her. That one you just showed.
Right.
That long.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like I know that figure like the back of my head, and the skull. That's just something I've always done.
And are you working, when you have figures in your work, do you ever work from live models, or are you pulling these from your imagination?
All from my head. I've worked on the live model since I was a teenager.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of etched in. I know where the thigh is. I know
Right.
where the hip is. I kind of know it.
All right. Well, this is the last one I'm going to put up on the screen because we are closing in on the 9 o'clock hour. But
and I have to say, when I was loading up the images, we have like 140 images just of the since your pandemic work. So if anybody wants to check out your work, they can go to Instagram and see it. It's one of my favorite pages on Instagram. And Todd just put the handle up there right now.
Yes, and I'm going to put it up there again because when you go to Instagram looking for Maureen's her Instagram feed, it is Maureen_Dougherty_. So just make sure you get that one right so you find it. There's a lot more to see there than what we were able to bring you. And I have to say, I know there's a lot of new people here that were not talking in the chat. But I want to thank you all for coming, number one, and please leave us a follow with whatever platform you're on. But Maureen, thank you for this. This is fantastic. We loved talking about your work tonight and hanging out with you. Anything coming up in the near future that you want to talk about? Or
yes, I'm working on a show for this fall.
Excellent. Well, let us know and we'll tell everybody.
I will.
Okay, good.
Maybe we can come and see it.
Yeah, we will.
Oh, you
Yeah,
will.
We'll totally come and see
You're like,
it.
oh yes, you will.
Well, I just think you guys are spectacular.
Aw,
Oh,
thanks. We
thank
think
you.
you are too.
And I
Yes.
like your work too a lot, Terry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very
Ah.
much. Thank you.
Landscape paintings. I think they're spectacular.
Oh, thank you so much.
Some last minute comments in here. Pumpkin Audrey says, Maureen, you are awesome. So great to meet you. And let's see on Facebook, beautiful work. I think that's Shirley. Susan Michael says, thank you. Memory Vessel says they look like the same woman on the right who was on the gray background in the black dress. Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities in some of these. John Parks is really revealing an interesting discussion and very compelling work. Maureen, again, thank you so much for this. We really enjoyed having you.
Oh, wow. Thanks so much.
All right, we will be talking to you soon. We're going to pop over to our main screen, but we'll see you in a few minutes over on the other side.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So that was
That was
great.
wonderful.
I enjoyed that. I'm
Yeah,
going to pop
and
up.
we didn't even get to most of her stuff, and there's some juicy stuff on there too. So
There
I must say, I love her work.
There is, and as usual, like when some of the work pushes the boundaries of abstraction, I really like sort of digging into where these things are coming from and how people get at them. And I love Maureen's references to, both early references to other artists as well as the ones we can kind of dig out of her.
Well, yeah, and especially her, it's a viewpoint on society. Like it gets to the deeper meanings behind some of the things that we're doing today, and like I said, selfie culture and images of women.
I wonder how, okay, I'm just going to put this out there, but when somebody my age makes a reference in front of my kids to something that refers to TikTok or something that refers to a particular meme, or God forbid I'm at the dinner table and I say my money don't jiggle jiggle, it folds. If I do that, my kids go out of their minds because they can't stand the fact that this gap is referencing their space.
I know, they're very territorial.
Yeah,
so,
but here we are commenting on this
we
stuff.
are, yes, and that's what she does as well.
And I mean, I love this crossover reference and how, but I'm curious to see how this will read in 20 years when they're looking at it.
Yeah.
And because I'm always able to look back on the 1980s and poke fun at some of the things that were very protected.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
But all right, listen, if you are watching us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, please give us a follow. On Instagram, we are only 2 followers away from 500. Not that we care, because we're not obsessed with followers, but follow us, right? You should follow us. You'll know what's going on. We have Dante Hayes next week, which I'm super excited about, and you should be too. He's going to be live in the studio with us next Tuesday night at 8, which I'm thrilled about. So, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us.
Yes.
Episode 101. I still get
101.
just enough vodka tonic left that I can make a toast.
All right.
All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Nice having you tonight. We'll talk to you again next week. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Take care.
All right.